Hi, everybody. We want to welcome you back to What's the Tea? This week, we have an exciting episode in which we are going to do a reflection for you about the past year of remote work. We have our community educators here, and I'm Lysandra. I am the community resource specialist here at South Suburban Family Shelter. And we're going to have the community educators introduce themselves and tell us how long you've been at the agency.
Hi, everybody. I am Angela Davis, a community educator. I have been at the agency since November of 2017.
Hi everyone, my name is Celeste Angulo. I'm also a community educator here at South Suburban Family Shelter, and I've been here for a little bit over 2 years.
And my name is Zach Kapos. I'm a community educator as well, and I've been here a little over 2 years as well.
Okay. Okay. Awesome. So for everyone watching right now, be sure to love and share this video. Go ahead and circulate it on your Facebook page, email it, text it, make sure it gets into the hands of everyone because we have a really exciting and I think impactful conversation today. And so just to give you guys some context, we came home, I think it was the second week of March last year, right, guys, for remote work after COVID-19 hit the US. And we didn't necessarily have a plan and we didn't know how long we were going to be home. And we didn't know what this meant. We just knew we have to go home for safety reasons. And because our particular team is not a forward facing client team where we need to see clients in the office like the counselors, it made sense that we in particular would be remote. And so if someone needed to be in the office to see a client, for example, for counseling, they would have the priority. And so we figured we could make our work remotely. And so we've been home, but that doesn't mean that it was not challenging to figure out how to make it work and what we should do and how to maximize the moment that we really weren't prepared for. Um, and so I think our team has changed a lot too in our dynamics, right? Since we came home, and so we want to share it because we thought that this could add value to the audience. You see tea, but we're going to give you an inside perspective into what goes behind tea, like what goes on behind the scenes. How was this created? Why? And what is the process of creating and producing this content for you? Okay, so just to kind of catch up the audience on the team itself and to give you guys the perspective into who we really are, we want to know just from the three of you guys what brought you into this work to begin with.
Who's first? Because you all were hiring. No, I'm just kidding. Just kidding. What brought me into this work, I would say maybe my passion kind of stemmed from college, because at college I not only did my internship and volunteered all 4 years at a sexual assault center, but then I also worked in the sanctuary like ours in college. It was called Hope of East Central Illinois in Charleston, Illinois. So that was a domestic violence agency as well. So I think it was a great impact, like working directly with the clients. Could be emotional, but it was a lot of rewarding work. So I think in a way that stemmed my passion. And then as I was transitioning from back home and researching, South Suburban Family Shelter was one of the agencies that was hiring for this position.
Wow. So it was like the perfect fit to build upon what you had already done.
Yeah, because after college, I'm like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do. I don't know. So, sometimes when you come back from college, your first job is not always the it job
Yep.
or that you went, to school first. So, like, my
Yep.
first job was at the power company. That has nothing to do with anything.
Right.
So
Right.
yeah, so this is like my second big girl job.
Yeah. So what was your major? Was it something related to?
So I double majored in sociology and Africana studies, and then I minored in women's studies.
Okay.
So
Wow.
kind of,
That's
the
perfect.
dynamics of the target audience is the same.
Yeah. No, that's perfect. That's a perfect fit. Okay. That's awesome. What about you guys, Celeste and Zach?
All right, so I'm gonna tell you all my story.
Tell it.
Not too long, but I did initially start going to college for psychology. That was my major, and then I switched over to social work. But which they're kind of similar.
Mhm.
And I had a cousin of mine who also went to school for social work, who already was working here at South Suburban Family Shelter. And
Mhm.
I knew she loved her job. I knew it was a good agency. So I made sure to let her know as soon as I was graduating, if there was a position open, to let me know. And so she did. I did do my internship, however. I did it at a place called the Bridge Teen Center in Orland Park. And that's where I pretty much realized that I liked working with youth. Because it's a youth organization. And so and when she told me that the position that was open was working with youth and going out to schools, I was interested. So I applied for it. I was actually surprised to get a call back like really quickly. And so, yeah, that's about how I got here.
Okay. That's awesome. That sounds like it was a perfect fit for you as well. Perfect. Awesome. Zach?
Okay, I think that leaves me. So um, I knew I was going to grad school for counseling, and I had a couple of months before that had started. So I actually, my mom works for the agency, and she suggested that I take the 40-hour training as kind of, something to work towards that before, I start school. So I took the 40-hour training in August of 2018, and I really enjoyed it. And I got to meet a lot of the people who work for the agency. So that was real great. And then, that was that, because it was about, I think it was 1 month long at the time. Well, we did it a little bit differently than we do now. And then like 2 months later, they posted for the position. And I was like, well, I liked going to the agency and I like the people that work there. So this would be a great fit for me right now. And I had never worked with youth before, but I mean, like I enjoyed my time in school, and I figured this could be a good opportunity to do something good.
Yeah. Awesome. That's awesome. Perfect. I'll tell a little bit about my story, the short version. Um, I worked at South Suburban Family Shelter. I did the 40-hour and worked at the agency in 2014, 2015-ish as a medical advocate. Really enjoyed that. And then I left to go to graduate school. And then I graduated in May 2017 from a public policy school, and did some policy work and then some business work, but then wanted to find a way to kind of hone in my skills at a nonprofit doing domestic violence work again. And so I was still friends with Kaisha Macklemore, who is now managing the medical advocacy program. And I had told her about the agency way back when, which is how she became a medical advocate. And so I called her and said, "What's going on at South Suburban Family Shelter?" And she said, "We have new positions opening up. You should totally apply." And so I did. And that's how I came back to the agency. So it was perfect connection
I
and
was
fit.
gonna say, isn't that something? You came back to the agency.
Yeah. It was absolutely perfect. And so we can go on and on about how we love working at this agency, but that's another tea for another time. So let's get into the pandemic, right? Because a lot of like the whole country was turned upside down and in a crisis in which everyone has to answer the question, how do we now work remotely with social distancing? And so that was really I think it could have been seen as a stressful time, definitely a challenging time. And so I want to ask you guys to just kind of revisit last year around this time, and just kind of think about what skills did you have to acquire in order to make this transition to remote work, and to be able to do it well.
Mm, That's a good one. I don't know. I think some of the skills that I had to acquire was flexibility,
Mm,
resilience, being able to really bounce back. Um, because in a way we were like, okay, this is the situation you're in now. What are you gonna do to still do your job? I would say in a way patience, and I'm probably thinking of patience because I'm working from home and also having my son home with me too.
yeah.
But and also boundaries. I think that's
Mhm,
important too, which I'm still learning. If
mhm.
Carrie's watching this, I know she's like, yeah, you need to work on because and I mean boundaries in a way when you work from home, you can find yourself working at all times of the day, all times of the night, especially if you're bored. It's
Yeah.
like, oh, okay, I'm tired of watching TV. Let's check the emails. Or I know I'm supposed to email so and so tomorrow, but let me just do it tonight. So having boundaries to not work when you're, know when work is work and play is play, because unfortunately, you're working in the house, you're sleeping in the house,
Yeah.
working out in the house, everything is kind of in the house. So you
Yeah.
kind of have to know how to balance that
Mhm.
because like you said, being in a pandemic was challenging. And I feel that, we sit on here every Tuesday and smile and stuff, but the fact of the matter is that people are still going through things,
Mhm.
and trying to learn how to navigate not only your personal life, but work life.
Mhm.
So yeah, I definitely think it has some challenges as well.
Absolutely. That's great. Yeah, absolutely. Celeste, you're muted.
You're muted.
Sorry about that. I was saying that I definitely agree with everything that Angie just said, setting boundaries, also like different forms of self-care, because what
Mhm.
worked before is not the same thing that's going to work now. Honestly, before, I know we were talking about this a while back, is that simple drive to work and turning up the music and driving for however long it takes you to get to work was a form of self-care for me. But
Yeah.
now I don't have that.
Yeah.
So now I go straight from being with my children to going to work and going right back to my children
Yeah.
in a matter of seconds. And so different forms of self-care. Also for me, it's multitasking, because it could be difficult for me to focus on something,
Mhm.
especially with like noise in the background or things like that. And so I kind of have to force myself to learn how to do it, because I have children who are e-learning and working at the same time. So I did have to work on that and gain that new skill.
Wow. Definitely. I think a lot of people can relate to what both of you guys are saying. What about you, Zach?
A lot of the same. I think it's hard to keep the timeline straight a little bit about this time
Mhm.
last year and kind of thinking what we actually knew what was going on.
Mhm.
There was a lot of like, this could be 2 weeks kind of thing. This could be a few months kind of thing. So really, I think a big part was just figuring out how to work with little information
Mm,
and working with basically figuring out what can I do in the next week or two, what can I do in the next month without seeing kind of like the long term
mhm.
big picture of our work, which I know like we care a lot about, but
Mhm.
that really wasn't an option at the time.
Yeah.
And I think along with that, just one more thing, just being a self starter. Now, like
Yeah.
we have no one watching us.
Mhm.
Um, we don't go into the office, so we're not like bouncing off each other. Like, oh, I see, like Angie's working, so I better work
Mhm.
myself.
Yeah.
So being a self starter, I think is real big.
God, that's so. I mean, when you guys say these things, it makes me realize how much more discipline almost is required to work from home, because you have to self-impose the structure. You have to self-impose a way to be focused. I mean, it's totally different. And then you have all these other energies and responsibilities or people competing for your attention at the same time. So, I mean, no, I think that that's great insight. And I think a lot of people can relate to that. Um, let me ask you guys, and again, you don't all have to answer the questions, but like if you want to jump in, just feel free. Um, in terms of your own strengths, these are things we've acquired, but were there strengths you already had that were highlighted through this process of either working remotely or what we've created with T or what we've continued to do on the community education team? Like, did you see yourself in a new light? Like, oh snap, like I got it going on over here. Like, I didn't even know that, you know?
I can answer this kind of as a team. I think that as a team, we already had our strengths just because all of us, none of us were new. So we all already knew each other. We all had already been working together for a while. If we ever did have issues, we had resolved them. So we had already had our own strengths as a team. So I can't imagine having to go remote with somebody you're not familiar with. I feel like that might have been a little bit harder. But we already had, you know, our own way of communicating, our own system of doing our work. And that just continued to work because we had worked so hard on it.
No, that's a great point. We had a rapport, we had a system that was in place, a way that a flow of work. Yeah, that's true.
I'm trying to think, because I think we all acquired skills individually as well. But I think our team, we sometimes don't like to really boast about ourselves. It's like, what? You said I do what? I didn't know that. Thank you. Because it's things like, I know, for instance, we always, joke around how Zach is our tech guy, but I would say that us three, even care, we had to basically like get better at our tech skills, or actually we can be like, okay, Zach, can you come in here and teach me how to do it? Like, we're at home, and if you have a presentation and Zach's not doing tech, what are you gonna do? So I think that, that is really a thing. I think also a skill of just being able to be on a computer for so long, with meetings and stuff. Probably not a skill, but hey, it definitely was different. Like, everything was so computer based now. We weren't used to that. We're used to printing out materials and shredding materials when we're done, and things like that. Now everything is like electronic. You got to learn how to, export Excel and things like you're just learning all these things, and it's like, I was not tech friendly before this at all.
Yeah, that's a great point. I think the whole world had to get better at their tech skills through the pandemic. That's a great point. Absolutely. Angie talks about how you guys tend to be modest. Can I just tell the world that the community education team is very modest? They're very modest.
Including our interviewer today.
Like, I have to be like, come on, guys, like, you guys are the business, man. They're so like, no, it's not me, it's him. No, it's not him, it's me. You know what I mean? So they're very modest, which is it's actually it's sweet and charming at the same time. They're very modest. Okay, so I knew that these questions, they're probably gonna be like, what strings? I don't know. But, can I say that, it takes a lot of skills, number one, to work with youth. Everybody cannot vibe with youth. Oh my goodness. Are you kidding me? So there are a lot of skills, I think, that the community education team, there are skills required for you guys to be able to work with youth. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that. But then there are skills required to work on a team, right? So can you talk a little bit about that? Like, what ways did you guys grow, or what did you learn about working as a team, especially as it pertains to creating tea? Like, what did that take? What does that take to kind of flow together?
I'll tell you what the hardest part for me was. The hardest part for me was like not being in the office where you directly see your team. If you ever have a question, you just say, hey, Zach, can you answer this for me? Angie, can you answer this for me? So now we're all working from home. I'm thinking, is this email worthy? Should I send them a whole email just to ask them this simple question? So just trying to figure out just communication in general when you have any type of question or anything you need to communicate with them. But that's also a skill that we've learned is now we use different programs. We use Teams chat. Instead of sending an email just for a simple question.
Yeah, that's true. There's kind of like informal conversation happening through the chat, the Teams chat. Yeah.
And I feel like that was a strength that we had, is we, had just random conversations sometimes.
It's interesting because I feel like we talk we talk in meetings. We also send emails. We have a second tier of informality through the Teams chat, but then we have like a third tier of informality through text because we still text sometimes. You know what I mean? So it's very interesting. Yeah. Anybody else want to talk about that?
I just want to talk about how I almost fell out this chair. And Zach see me. It was cracking up, and I was trying so hard to hold it in. But I know that our audience.
Are you okay?
This is the perks of working from home. You don't know what's gonna happen to you. Zach is over there cracking up, and I'm over here trying so hard not to laugh.
We need like a tea bloopers. We need a tea bloopers.
Bloopers, right? Oh man, that's the real tea. Okay, but no, I would say as a team, I think some of the strengths is honestly being more understanding and having like empathy for each other too. I think that played a role in having a strong rapport and connection to work with each other, because also too we are understanding each other's situation right now in a pandemic. So when we do make decisions, it's like, okay, do Zach have to do anything for work today or school? Like, is it too much on his plate? Okay, let me check with Celeste. I know that sometimes the e-learning could be hard, so I think that keeps us balanced as well. Because I think we have a mindset of trying our best to really work with each other to make things as easy as possible during this time.
Right. Definitely. I think that many people don't understand, what goes into making the tea. So can someone kind of describe what's our process? I mean, this is why I'm talking about the community educators are pretty amazing, because they had to innovate an idea, which was unprecedented for the agency. And then they had to figure out a way to create a process to keep it rolling. And we are now on the 42nd episode of Tea. So you guys have been able, we as a team have kept this going now for quite a while. What's the process? Like, what's the breakdown behind the scenes? How would you describe it?
I can do my best to explain.
Okay.
That. So there is a lot of planning, and also one thing I don't think people necessarily know is that development also works with us to make these episodes. So Brittany, Rachel, and the director Chris, they're all helping us produce the show as well. So not only is it us four plus our manager Carrie, it's them three as well. So there's a lot of people involved in this process, and I would say the first thing is like figuring out who's going to be on, and that involves which one of us is going to be on, because one of us has to be on.
Yeah.
More plus a guest. So we have to figure that out, and we have to figure out the topic and the outline. And then we have to get the teaser over so we can let everyone on Facebook know who's going to be on, just so it's kind of in their head. So we work with the development on that, and we have to have at least one meeting for this specifically every week, and we're constantly chatting about what's the theme of this month going to be, what's the episodes, how is your schedule going to fit in with mine. So like sometimes we have to pre-record things and we have to bounce our schedules around. So that's a long way of saying it's a lot of keeping people updated and on the same page, which that's a skill we've had to learn as well. And you guys can remind me if I'm forgetting a step.
I don't think so. I think you pretty much got it all. I do want to mention how everything was and is pretty much trial and error, since it's something we had never done before. We kind of just jumped right in it, not really knowing what to expect. Yeah. And there was little steps of the process that in the beginning when we were planning it, we were forgetting we had to do. Like we had to contact certain people for certain things. And so then we did come up with like an organized plan of by Monday, this should be done. By Tuesday, this should be done. That way everything's actually done on time. But yeah, I think you just about covered it, Zach.
we also need a tech person every time. I forget about that. And
Yep.
we need to stream it onto Facebook. So
Yeah.
it's like those little things that now we can just do no problem. The first few times we're like, I really hope this like goes live on Facebook and we all like are on camera and everyone can hear us, because that was,
Oh my God, I remember that. Like, we didn't even know how to stream it. We didn't know how we were going to stream this.
Yes, I remember, what was it, Celeste, you and Rachel, and they're like, yeah, just testing it out. Don't mind us. It's
God,
fine.
that's so true. Oh my God, we didn't even know how we are going to stream it. We've come a long way. And then I think also we had a goal of featuring all the programs, right?
That's right.
Go ahead if you want to.
Yeah, so initially, since Angie was the one who came up with this whole idea, she came up with the idea of like, well, why not let people know what's going on during this pandemic? And we all thought that was a great idea. So here we were working on our goal. Our initial goal was to cover every department in our agency, which how many departments do we have, guys? Help me out.
Is it 9?
I believe we have 9.
Yeah.
Go with 9.
Someone correct us if we're wrong in the chat.
So anyways, we're way past that number because today is our 42nd episode. So we covered every department in our agency. And like, I do want to thank everyone who has been interviewed in our T episode, because so many people have volunteered. So many people have been there for us, have been there for the agency and for our viewers. And so it's still going. We have so many, we feel like there's so many things to talk about, so many subjects that we can touch on, especially for our agency, that's a domestic violence agency. So many things affect us and our community. So we'll see where this takes us.
Yeah. And I just want to make mention too that doing outreach, I shared the tea with other organizations that have been really impressed and seen our tea and said, hey, we want to do something similar at our organization, or just circulated our episodes with their partners too, and have been really excited about it. So I think it's impacted our agency and other people too, other agencies, other schools and partners that we're connected to. So I think that's been amazing. Okay, so let me ask you guys, as the world returns to normal, we've had some conversations, right, about how some people are starting to, either do hybrid in terms at school, or some schools are returning back to the classroom, or the world is trying to kind of get back to normalcy. What are your thoughts about what maybe new things or new ideas you're going to bring into your working with youth, working with schools, now that we've been home? How do you think that this is going to feel very different now that we've had this experience working remotely, or is it going to be the same? What are you expecting?
I don't know. I feel like in a way, it's hard to say that life in general will be the same after this, at least not right now, because it's like, what does that normalcy look like again?
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think it's hard to say. Of course, I know we're going to bring these strengths, our creativeness, everything, to the forefront when we're turning back to normal. But I think in a way too, it's so weird because I feel like it's a lot of catch up to play, with the students gaining this information, because as we all know, which we talk about, it's hard to kind of conduct a lot of virtual presentations right now due to, whether the school system, is still trying to figure out their, information to get us to be able to do so, whether it's safety reasons, for children that are at home right now. So I don't know. I feel like in a way, there's going to be a lot of teens and adolescents that need that support system, that need that resources, or that advocate when they return physically back out into the world.
Yeah, definitely.
And I think we'll have to rebuild our relationships a little bit with the schools, because as Angie is saying, like, generally speaking, students are having a hard time with this entire school year. They just spent almost a whole year going back and forth, and we're just, we're a third party. So we have to, I think going forward, we'll keep our virtual option going forward, and just being as flexible as we can, just so we can keep these relationships going. And because we've had a lot of them for a long time. So we want to keep those.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's great. I think Celeste, you want to chime in anything on that one?
No, I don't think so. Basically, I think that some of the skills that we have gained from this are definitely going to help us keep that relationship, such as our virtual presentations that Zach mentioned. So we're definitely going to carry on a lot of what we've learned to our normal.
Absolutely. In terms of just what has kept you inspired, because I mean, the pandemic was challenging for everyone, I think, in every way. What has kept you guys inspired in this work?
I would say maybe just, oh, go ahead,
girl. So one of the things that keeps me inspired, especially with the work that we do, is just knowing that in times like these, our services are even more critical. So we have a lot of students, you know, at home, and we don't know whether they're safe or not right now. And we might not be there in their school to talk to them about how to stay safe. We have a lot of teenagers or adolescents who might be dating right now, and they need to hear the information about healthy relationships. So there's a lot going on. Everybody's at home. It's harder to provide our presentations to schools right now. So that's pretty much what motivates me, is that there's a lot of people who need it. Yeah. So we have to keep trying, keep doing our best to get this information out there.
Absolutely.
I agree with Celeste. Definitely at this point in time of being in the pandemic, being in the state of the world that we are in right now, our services is definitely needed. But I also think just the feedback that we get from staff members, from the audience, from strangers, from whoever, family, friends, that keeps you going too. Because I mean, yeah, we're doing What's the Tea every week because it's a part of our job as well. But we didn't know at first how, you know, our videos impacted others or really sparked that conversation, or, you know, whether it was staff or the audience really enjoying watching content like this. So I think, you know, when you are working hard, especially in a stressful era right now, and you get that feedback, that kind of motivates you to keep doing what you're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking in terms of feedback as well. Just so we're not talking and to avoid, it's always good to know, like when people comment on here or we get feedback from staff and students, that's always really helpful. And I think just wanting to just have some sense of normalcy with everyone, whoever we see. It's like, it may not be the same as before, but we want to like keep some kind of structure going for everyone, and not just completely, you know, throw in the towel because there's a pandemic.
Yeah, absolutely. No, so that makes a lot of sense. I think that you guys provide a lot of insight, and I think that it was unexpected. We didn't know how we were going to be inspired. So it's like, oh, I'm inspired by this, or I'm inspired by that. We've learned along the way, right? Let me look at the chat and see if there's any questions.
I see some comments on here, but I don't see any questions so far. So we would want to encourage you viewers to ask us any questions, maybe not any, but you could ask us anything that you want to know about the topic. But Jennifer she said that she would love to see bloopers tea.
With that falling out the chair being first video.
That would be great. Yeah, you guys feel free, put some questions in the chat if there's any questions for our team. We'd love to answer them.
It's just so crazy. Like, I know we were talking about how unexpected like this whole thing was, you know, like, you know, I feel that before the pandemic, of course, I know I said it often, like, oh, I wish I could work from home.
Yeah.
And work from home, and then it happened. And I was like, oh, so I get the baby too? Okay. But it's crazy because do you all remember, Zach, Celeste, we were sitting there trying to, can't remember, Lysandra, you were in it too, where we were trying to plan the trip for the training. And then it was like, just kidding, you're not going no more.
Yeah,
And I was
I
like,
remember that.
dang.
Wow.
Yeah, because we didn't even know how bad it was. It was just like, oh, we have the funding for you all to go do a training. What was it, like LA or something?
Yeah,
And
I
they were
remember
like,
that.
no, you're not going anymore.
Oh my God.
So everything, and
Now
after
you get to
that,
stay home.
exactly. Now after that, everything was like just spiraling. Like, nope, go home.
Yep. Have you guys enjoyed working at home? What do you think you prefer, home or in the office?
Actually prefer at home still. You know, it has its challenges. You
Mhm.
know, sometimes I do want sunlight and I do want to see people. But it's weird because also too in the winter I become like an introvert instead of being extrovert. Like, you know, so I actually enjoyed it, but I do miss being in the presence of everybody at the
Yeah.
office and eating lunch together and doing the
Doing the
puzzles
puzzle.
and just bothering you like, so hey Lysandra, what you doing up here? Because you know, we were in our office all day. Like
Yeah.
it's different.
Yeah, it definitely taught me that, you know, all the work that, maybe not all, but most of the work that we did in the office, we could do from home. So I feel like this is going to change, you know, this position in the agency in general, because we were able to see everything that could be done from home. Now, for some things, I do think that it's just easier. Maybe sometimes I'm more productive if I'm in the office. So for me, I would rather be at home some days and in the office others. I also miss everybody in the office and just being around people and having lunch with everyone. I feel like it makes our agency stronger to be around each other.
That's
Yeah,
a hard one. I like the hybrid answer.
Yes.
It's the staring at screens that gets a little bit tiring for me. And also we were talking about communicating using the internet, which isn't always the easiest thing to do. You never want to come off as like short with someone or just like randomly passive aggressive when you were just like just typing whatever, like not in a mood at all, and then someone takes it the wrong way. So
Yeah.
there's challenges, but I think I will enjoy being in person once we're there.
Yeah, there's almost like the development of tech etiquette. It's like we didn't need to think about that so much before.
Yeah. Or even it's a difference when we are doing our trainings or presentations now. It's like you can't feel the room, you can't feel your audience. So you're just sitting at the screen like, yep, hope you all are enjoying this today. Like, I don't even know what you're looking like. Like,
Or you're
I don't
so
know.
excited when somebody like, I'm sorry, gets in.
Or it's funny if you make a joke and you're the only one laughing. It's like, oh, this is awkward. Because it's tech. It's like, I don't even know. Can't hear you.
Yeah, or like somebody types in the chat and you're like, oh my God, they're talking in the chat. Yes, you know, you're engaged with me. Yeah.
Right, right.
So team, we do have a couple questions now. I'll go ahead and start with the first one. Have any of your students reached out to you guys during the pandemic?
Any students? I would say no. Because confidentially, like we don't have each other's contact information. I would say that the only one that we did hear from was when we had the graduate from a school that we did. You remember when we interviewed Ashley Meeky on here? That's about it. But more so like the teachers, you know, will reach out or asking like what we're doing, but not as far as students. As far as myself.
Yeah, exactly. So what about, do you miss the classroom setting? I definitely do. I miss the classroom setting. I miss, like I said, I like working with youth. I like the vibe that I get just being around young people, and I do miss that. That's the reason why I decided to work as a community educator, so that I definitely miss being around the students.
I definitely miss the classroom settings. I don't miss when it's time to switch like classes because I look like a high school student, so I blend in. I'm like, oh, excuse me, I don't go here. But yes, I would say I miss the classroom setting. I mean, also it's something different than being in your room, so kind of miss that.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of little funny things that happen when you're in the classroom and, you know, you're talking to all like completely new people. You've never met them before. So you'll get a funny response or they'll ask you something and it'll make you think a certain way. that's all good stuff.
I don't know. I guess because I'm older now too, I like being in the schools to see like the school settings, to see how the curriculum is with students, to see, like, oh, this is really nice. Like I've been in some really cool looking schools and it's like, wow, never knew you were here. So that's pretty cool too.
Yeah.
Yeah, and seeing kids on Chromebooks and laptops and stuff, you want to go over there and be like, you can't have that. What are you? And they're
Right.
like,
What are you doing?
it's like, oh, I only
Sorry.
graduated like 8 years ago, but that's a huge new change.
Yeah.
Yeah. I miss trainings. I wasn't always at schools per se, but I miss trainings and meetings and people, the energy of people in person. So yeah.
Yeah, I miss, seeing that difference when you provide that information to someone and then you see, somebody's eyes open up and realize, oh, this is what's going on. This is what I need to do. And then a lot of students would come to us after class. And, I loved that. I loved when a student came to me after class and asked, can I talk to you for a minute? Of course. So I do miss that.
Yeah.
We have a couple of comments. I don't see any questions so far, but we have a couple of comments saying that from other staff members saying that they've gotten to know our staff pretty well through T.
Yeah, we heard that a lot, which is really cool. I'm glad that happened because I feel like whenever we do get back together, it's going to be like everyone's kind of closer in a way. Like now, like our all staffs, it's just like, hey, I remember you. Hey,
we had tea together.
Right. And we literally talk to everybody, like, well, not everybody, but every department, so that's really, exactly. So that's really cool.
I mean, this is one of the things I really love about T is because it added to so much staff like cohesion. It was like a way that we virtually came together and learned about each other, because we featured the programs and we got a chance to communicate with other programs and other people got a chance to get an inside look into just maybe different staff that they didn't see often or had not had in-depth conversation with. So yeah, I love that aspect of T.
And all the information they have to give because we don't specifically know exactly everything about their work and what they do and all the knowledge that they have. And so we were able to hear about different topics from all these different viewpoints.
Yep. And to learn what brought them to this work, So yeah, I love that. I thought it was such a strength.
Yeah, and I'm excited to see what's in store for us.
Yes. Any other comments in the chat, Celeste?
No, I don't see any.
I don't want us to not give a shout out to Carrie. So yeah, I can't not do that. So Carrie, oh my God, I mean, she's the manager of the community education team, and really a lot of the processes to bring in like the organization for this and the things Celeste talked about in terms of the processes and things Zach talked about, Carrie, would put that in place. A lot of that is even if it's the idea of one of us, she really takes the responsibility to make sure that it's implemented and that we stick to it. And so, yeah, that's been amazing. And even just the T debrief, because we debrief every T and we evaluate everything we do and make sure they're making it better. So yeah, I just want to say kudos to Carrie in her absence.
Yes.
Okay. Well, any final remarks?
Bring your tea weekly. Right. Tune in next week to What's the Tea. And it's Women's History Month.
Woo! Any final remarks?
Sorry, that look back like, yep. You're not included. No, I'm just kidding.
Any other final thoughts, remarks, parting words?
Nope. We're gonna keep going.
Yeah.
We might be celebrating the year, but still the beginning.
It's not over.
Yeah. So stay tuned. Stay with us. The best is yet to come from the T. So join us next Tuesday, same time, same place, different T. Thank you for watching. Thank you guys.
Thanks, Lysandra.
Bye.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks.
Bye.